My living expenses are distributed on a daily basis. My mom requires me to check in every day, otherwise, I won't get my living expenses. I can't even eat enough or dress warmly. I don't have money to buy sanitary napkins. I can't even take on a part-time job because of the check-in requirement. In desperation, I decided to sell my body and soul and become a mistress for a rich man. I told you that you need to check in at the library 3 times a day. You only checked in twice today. So you won't get your living expenses tomorrow. Of course, you'll also lose your full attendance bonus for this month, my mom said in a serious and resolute voice on the phone. I quickly did some calculations. I still owe my roommate $12 and I don't have a penny in my hand. When you're under someone else's roof, you have to be submissive. I don't have the right to argue, so I tried my best to explain. Mom, I went to the library with my roommate. You saw the photos. I took selfies with my roommate as you asked, with the library gate in the background, and I sent them to you. But in the afternoon, my roommate fainted due to anemia and I took her to the hospital, so there's no photo for the evening. She snorted in disdain. How do I know if you're lying? You just didn't want to study and went out to play, right? I tried to control my emotions and said, Mom, I have my roommate's registration slip, medical records, and payment certificates. I'll take photos and show them to you. Shut up, she raised her voice. Even if it's true, is that an excuse for not studying and not going to the library? What does your roommate fainting have to do with you? When you took her to the hospital, weren't you afraid of being taken advantage of? Why do you have to be the one to do it? Besides, who will make up for the time you wasted and the knowledge you didn't learn? I interrupted her before she could go on a long lecture. Okay, Mom, I know. I won't get my living expenses tomorrow and I won't get the full attendance bonus this month. I know. I'm going to memorize words now. Goodbye. After hanging up the phone, she sent me a message. When you memorize words, you must follow the study method I specified. Write the Chinese translations on a blank piece of paper and then write the words from memory facing the Chinese. Record a video to prove that you're not copying. You have to memorize at least 30 words. If you don't check in, you won't get your living expenses the day after tomorrow. Living expenses, living expenses, living expenses. Just seeing these 3 words makes me physically uncomfortable. She sent another message. I remember where you left off with the words. Keep memorizing along the word list. If you try to fool me with the words you've already memorized, you won't get your living expenses this month. I typed for a long time. I had words for an argument, words for a scolding, and swear words in various languages, but in the end, I deleted them all and just sent, got it. After the call, I went back to the dormitory from the corridor. I really wanted to lie down. I had been sitting in the library for most of the day and had been running around in the afternoon. I was really tired, but if I don't memorize the words, I'll starve to death. I stood there for a long time, and finally, I resigned myself to memorizing the words. I'm like a donkey whipped, with no choice but to move forward. My mom is choking me with the words, living expenses, and making me do whatever she wants. I don't know when the whip behind me will stop. Before the start of the university semester, my mom gave me an A4 paper. Printed on it was something called Detailed Rules for the Use of College Living Expenses, hereinafter referred to as the Detailed Rules. Unlike many college students, my living expenses are given on a daily basis, every night. If I don't violate the detailed rules, she will give me the living expenses for the next day, but if I violate them, the consequences like today, and my money will be deducted. The rule I violated today is the first one. You have to go to the library for self-study when you have no classes every day and check in 3 times to prove that you're not being lazy. Check-in method. Take a selfie with the library gate in the background when you go. Take a selfie of the desk with the desk as the background during your study and report the study content in detail. When you leave, take a photo of the library gate from inside the library and record a screen showing the photo you took. Open the browser and search for the world clock to prove that you're not playing tricks on the time. On days when you have no classes, you need to check in every hour at the library. The check-in method is that I'll give you a password, and you write it on the paper and hold it up for a photo. If you don't miss a single check-in in a month, you can get the full attendance bonus for that month. There are many such strange regulations in the detailed rules. With such harsh conditions, it's reasonable to expect a large amount of living expenses, right? However, my daily living expenses are only $20. This is the result of her precise calculations. According to her plan, for breakfast, I should have a steamed bun, an egg, and a cup of soybean milk, which costs $3. It's filling and nutritious. for lunch and dinner. Should eat at the poverty-stricken food window. $4 can buy 3 dishes and a bowl of soup. The plan sounds good, but in practice, there are big problems. I don't like steamed buns. I don't want to eat them every morning, but besides steamed buns, there's really no staple food that costs only $1. The meat dishes at the poverty-stricken food window are always streaky pork, mostly fat. I can't stand the fat and will vomit if I take a bite, so I can only eat the vegetarian dishes, but the vegetarian dishes are always Chinese cabbage and spinach, tasteless and without even a drop of oil. As for the free soup, it's no different from plain water. I've studied it carefully. My plan is perfect. You only need $11 a day to eat well. The remaining $9 can be used for drinking water, taking a shower, and buying fruits. It's more than enough, and you can even save money to buy study materials and books. You can live a comfortable life with that, she said. Our school is in the suburbs. To buy fruits, I can only rely on the campus supermarket. The apples there are sold by the piece, $8 each. Take it or leave it. I really don't know how I'm supposed to live a comfortable life with only $600 of living expenses a month, and this is the situation when I don't violate the rules and don't get my money deducted. If I diligently checked in at the library for a month, how much full attendance bonus could I get? $3 a day. I could get $90. What a huge sum of money. I'm always hungry and can't eat well. I can either have 3 tasteless but filling meals or have 1 delicious meal and starve for 2 meals. Fruits and snacks are completely out of reach for me. More than 2 months after the start of the semester, I'm only 83 pounds even though I'm 165 centimeters tall. I've tried to fight back. I reasoned with her, told her about the prices at school, showed her the slop sold at the poverty-stricken food window, and showed her my weight, but all my words turned into one sentence from her. I don't have money for you to enjoy yourself. But I definitely won't let you starve. Why can others manage but you can't? You won't suffer if you strictly follow my plan. Others can manage. Who exactly can? Who can stand up and let me see that I'm not the only one suffering from hunger? I'm so hungry. I thought that even if I took a part-time job, I could earn more than $600 a month. I took a part-time job. I was willing to do anything as long as I could make money. I ran errands for people and picked up their express deliveries. I could carry even the heaviest parcels. I carried a 40-pound bag of cat litter up to the 5th floor and even petted the owner's cat. On weekends, I wore a mascot costume and danced in a shopping mall in the city. I danced for an afternoon in 30-degree heat. In the evening, I cooked rice noodles at the rice noodle window in the cafeteria and even got a free bowl of rice noodles. Damn, it was so delicious. I made more money than $600. I drank mango pomelo sago for the first time. I really like the lemonade that costs $4 a cup. It's cheap, big, and delicious. I had McDonald's breakfast for the first time. The McMuffin is much better than a steamed bun. I still don't dare to go to the dessert shop. Desserts that cost $20 or $30 each are still too expensive for me. But I can afford to buy the velvet cake that's sold as, buy 1 pound and get half a pound free, on the street. To hell with the check-in. I threw everything behind me and just focused on making money. I was really tired that month, but I ate well. Looking back now, it was a warm time, full of the smell of food. My stomach was full, and I wasn't sad at all. However, the good times didn't last long. I kept refusing to check in. My mom suddenly visited the school without notifying me and directly found my counselor. She cried and said that I had gone bad. She asked the counselor if I had run away with a man or dropped out of school privately. She made a big scene, asked a lot of strange questions, said a lot of nonsense, and even went to my dormitory. She asked my roommates in a strange way and even insulted them. The counselor asked me to go back to school immediately. At that time, I was wearing a mascot costume and handing out flyers at the entrance of a mobile phone store. I rushed back immediately after receiving the call, covered in sweat. As soon as my mom saw me, she slapped me. I don't want to recall how that day ended. In short, after that day, I became a whipped donkey again. The reins of living expenses were tied around my neck, and I was living like a ghost for just $20. All I want is to have enough to eat. The next morning, I woke up in pain. My lower abdomen hurt so much, and I felt dizzy. When I reached out, my hand was covered in blood. I was on my period. I forced myself to climb down and rummage for sanitary napkins. I couldn't find any, so I borrowed one from my roommate Rose, changed it, and stumbled to wash my pants and bed sheets. I sent a message to my mom, "Mom, I'm on my period," and I don't have any sanitary napkins. Can you give me my living expenses, even if it's an advance for tomorrow? I can't go out like this." She replied, "Your period is still 4 days away. You've learned to lie, using such a poor excuse to cheat me out of money." I was so angry that I could have killed someone. She's a woman too. Doesn't she know that periods can come early or late? Does her period always come as predicted by the app? I just couldn't figure it out. Our family isn't poor, but I've been reduced to begging her for money to buy sanitary napkins. Why? I took photos of the blood-stained bed sheets and underwear and showed them to her to prove that I wasn't lying. She quickly replied, "Who knows if these belong to your roommate? You're taking photos to cheat me out of money." I was really desperate. I had no money, couldn't afford to eat, and couldn't buy sanitary napkins. One of my 3 roommates was in the hospital, another had left, and the only one left, Rose, was about to leave. I quickly stopped her. "Can you lend me a pack of sanitary napkins? Thank you. I'll return it to you tomorrow." She rummaged through the cabinet but couldn't find a whole pack. There was only one thin daily use sanitary napkin left. "This is the last one. You don't have to return it. I'm going to be late. I have to go," she said. My mom was urging me to go to the library and check in. I didn't have any classes today, according to the detailed rules. I need to check in every hour. It's the first day of my period. And the flow is really heavy. One thin daily use sanitary napkin is definitely not enough. If I sit in the library for a day, my pants will definitely get stained with blood, and even the library chair will be affected, and I'm in so much pain. I explained the situation, and she replied, "You can't cheat me out of money, so you're trying to avoid studying. You're really disobedient." I put down my phone feebly. Let her say whatever she wants. In the end, I didn't go to the library. Afraid of leaking, I didn't dare to lie down or sit. I could only stand, but I was in so much pain. Even after taking painkillers, I still hurt. I was dizzy and just wanted to sleep. After standing for 2 hours, Rose came back. She took out 2 packs of extra-long night-use sanitary napkins and a pack of disposable panties from her bag and threw them on my desk. "Take them. You don't have to return them. I know you can't afford to." I know that when my mom came to make a scene, she spoke harshly to Rose, saying that she looked like a bad kid and that she must have led me astray. She scolded her for no reason. Since then, we haven't been on good terms, but at this moment, she saved me from my embarrassment. Before I could thank her, she put on her headphones and started watching a drama, but I still said, "Thank you," loudly. She lifted her eyelids. I don't know if she heard me or not. After changing into the disposable panties, I finally managed to rest. I slept soundly until 2 in the afternoon. When I woke up and picked up my phone, my mom had called me countless video calls, but my phone was on mute, and I didn't hear any of them. Her last message was, "You didn't check in today, so you won't get your living expenses tomorrow." I didn't eat all day and learned that I wouldn't have anything to eat the next day either. I was so numb that I didn't have the energy to protest anymore. Maybe death by starvation would be a relief. But hunger was truly unbearable. It felt like my stomach was empty. My stomach was empty, and I was completely empty inside. This emptiness made me feel anxious. Even my mind seemed empty, unable to think. All I could think about was food. In this state, how could I study in the library? How could I memorize words? I studied hard every day, but my grades plummeted. No one knew why. I knew the reason myself. I was constantly hungry, and all I could think about was food. I couldn't focus on my studies at all. My mind just wouldn't work. What's the point of those check-ins? If I starve to death, I can be reincarnated. In my next life, I want to be a cat on campus. Everyone who passes by will feed me, and I won't have to worry about going hungry. I felt like I was in a light, hallucinatory state. I didn't stay conscious for long before falling asleep again. This time, I slept until 3:30 in the morning the next day. When I woke up, the feeling of hunger hit me again. Eating enough and eating well was my most humble wish. I started daydreaming about ways to make money. For a moment, I even considered borrowing from online lending platforms. I had even filled out all the information, and my finger was hovering over the confirmation button for the loan. With just a flick of my finger, I could have money to eat. But before I clicked, I thought of an main talking about many cases where people borrowed from online lenders, ended up borrowing more to pay off previous loans, and finally owed hundreds of thousands of dollars, ruining their entire lives. This main temporarily pushed aside the thoughts of food and occupied some space in my mind. His voice echoed in my head, don't borrow from online lenders, don't borrow from online lenders. How many times have I said it? Don't borrow from online lenders. Borrowing from online lenders would ruin my life. So was there any way for me to get out of this situation temporarily without ruining my future? I uninstalled the online lending app and sent a text message to a number. Before, you approached me and said that some rich men like to keep female college students as mistresses. With my conditions, can I be selected? Is that true? The moment I sent the message, my thoughts were simple. With online lending, the interest might pile up until I could never pay it off. But if I became a rich man's mistress, at least I could break up with him when I was capable of buying my own food in the future. I didn't know which was more noble or more hateful between borrowing from online lenders and being a mistress. Maybe they were the same. Anyway, my life was already a mess, and it could get even worse. As long as I could eat, even if I was in the gutter, at least it would be a fragrant gutter. I started calculating in my head. If I was kept by someone, I'd have to fawn on them. Begging my mom for money also meant fawning on her, since I had to fawn on others in both cases. Surely a rich man wouldn't give me only $600 a month, right? There was no dignity in asking a rich man for money, and there was no dignity in asking my mom for money either, since both meant losing dignity. Surely a few meetings a month with a rich man would be enough. I'd only have to lose my dignity for a few days, but my mom made me lose my dignity 365 days a year. It was almost funny that I was comparing my mom with a sugar daddy to see who was worse. The owner of the number was a senior 2 years ahead of me. During the month I worked part-time, I picked up her express deliveries 26 times, and she always had a lot of packages each time. That 40-pound bag of cat litter was hers. At first, I just thought she was really rich, but then she asked me if I was interested in finding a sugar daddy. According to her, many rich men liked female college students. They were culturally barren and led decadent lives. And they were attracted to college students because they were educated and pure, which complimented them. She said I was good looking and didn't dress up much, with my long hair in a simple middle part, tucked behind my ears. I had a kind of rustic purity that coal bosses would love. She said I'd definitely be popular. I refused her suggestion at that time because I thought I could eat well with my part-time job. But circumstances change. She quickly contacted me, picked me up from the dormitory, and even took me out for a meal. She treated me to hot pot. I had never eaten hot pot outside before. It was something I only dared to dream of. After the meal, she did my makeup and took some photos of me, then told me to go back and wait for news. Because of all this, I still didn't check in today. In the evening, my mom said I still wouldn't have living expenses tomorrow, but I could get an advance on the condition that I checked in on time. She also said she knew I was probably really on my period, but she wanted to teach me a lesson. I'm telling you, you're not a child anymore. You have to understand one thing today. One wrong step leads to a series of mistakes. If you hadn't meddled in other people's business and taken your classmate to the hospital, you wouldn't have missed the check-in, you wouldn't have had no money the next day, and you wouldn't have missed another day of check-in because you didn't have sanitary napkins. Leaving you with no money and no food today. All of this is because of one wrong decision you made. Do you understand? In the future, learn to be cautious in what you say and do, and know what to do and what not to do. If you make one mistake, it will lead to consequences you can't control. Do you understand? I didn't understand, didn't understand, but to prevent her from coming to the school again, I resumed my daily check-ins. While eating the slop from the poverty-stricken food window with my $20 daily allowance, I kept wondering when the senior would contact me. I really didn't want to eat that slop anymore. A week later, the senior finally got in touch with me. She gave me a hotel room number and told me to dress nicely and go knock on the door, saying she had already made arrangements. I was a bit nervous and asked her, "Won't I get caught by the anti-prostitution police?" She laughed loudly on the phone. "What are you talking about? It's just a relationship. It's consensual. How could you get caught? Hurry up and go. Don't keep him waiting too long." After that, she hung up the phone. Although she told me to dress up, I really didn't have much to work with. I didn't even have a single piece of makeup. My mom said only promiscuous women wore makeup. I didn't agree with her, but I couldn't afford it. I also didn't have any nice clothes. All my clothes were either chosen by her or hand-me-downs from her, and they were as unfashionable as they could be. In the end, I went as I was. If I got returned, there was nothing I could do about it. Maybe I just wasn't cut out for making money this way. The closer I got to the hotel, the more nervous I became. I couldn't stop sweating. When I actually stood in front of the room door, I realized I wasn't as bold as I thought I was. I really wanted to run away. I really couldn't do this. Just as I turned to leave, my stomach rumbled. I was so hungry. The sudden wave of hunger made me press the doorbell. I knew I was sacrificing my future to survive the present, like draining the pond to catch the fish, or quenching my thirst by drinking poison. Maybe taking this step today would fundamentally change the course of my future. I couldn't predict or control what my life would be like from now on, but even if my life sank into the swamp from today on, I wanted to die with a full stomach. I didn't expect to drink lemonade every day. At least I wanted to be able to afford sanitary napkins, have some dignity during my school years, and focus on my studies after getting enough to eat. The door opened. A refined middle-aged man stood there, looking more like a scholar than the flashy gold chain wearing tycoon I had imagined. He looked at me curiously. Who are you looking for? Did you get the wrong room? I looked up at the room number and double-checked the senior's message. No, this is the right place, 1603. Aren't you Mr. Kevin? He frowned slightly. I'm Kevin, but I don't know you. You'd better double-check with your friend. Just these two questions were enough to make my newly found courage fade. I probably wasn't ready yet. And this was a good chance to make a hasty retreat. Just as I was about to turn and leave, his phone rang. Like most middle-aged people, he had the volume turned up loud enough for me to hear the person on the other end. A man asked him, "Has she arrived? I arranged this for you, seeing that you've been so lonely. Isn't she your type?" A female college student. Enjoy. Mr. Kevin didn't look happy at all. He scolded his friend for being ridiculous and hung up the phone. It was a bad start. I was indeed returned. I couldn't tell if I felt relieved or disappointed. Either way, it was embarrassing. My cheeks burned, and I turned to leave with my head down. He stopped me. "Miss, wait a moment." I stopped and looked back. He waved at me. "Show me your payment code." I showed him my payment code, and he scanned it. Then $2,000 appeared in my phone. Rich people really were something. Giving me $2,000 was as easy for him as giving a beggar on the street 20 cents was for me. In fact, considering my financial situation, I'd have to think twice before giving a beggar $2. "You look young. Don't go down the wrong path in the future. This money is for your travel expenses. It should last you a while. It's not too late. Go back to school." My goodness, he was generous, kind-hearted, rich, and didn't like me in every way. He seemed like the perfect, soft touch. As he was about to close the door, I grabbed the door frame tightly. Mr. Kevin, hire me. I don't ask for much. $2,000 a month is enough. I just need money for food. I'm so poor that I can't afford to eat. It doesn't matter if you don't like me. Consider it a loan. I can write an IOU. I promise I'll pay you back after I graduate and find a job. Please, we can negotiate the price. I just need enough for food. Is $2,000 too much? $1,000 is okay. $800 is fine too. He tried to pull my hand away but always hesitated just before touching me. He wanted to close the door forcefully but couldn't bear to let my fingers get caught, so we stood there in an awkward stalemate. Other guests passing by looked at us curiously. Since he cared about his reputation more than I did, he gave in first. "Come in." I was able to enter his room, but he held up his index finger to stop me from going further, only allowing me to stand at the door. "Listen, today's incident was a misunderstanding. My friend did this without my consent. I have no interest in keeping a female college student as a mistress. You can find someone else for that kind of relationship. But you misunderstand, Mr. Kevin," I interrupted him. "What I mean is, we don't have that kind of relationship. We'll have," I waved my hand back and forth between us, "a sponsorship relationship. You're not interested in keeping a female college student, and I'm not interested in serving an old man." I rolled up my sleeves to show him my thin wrists, where the blue veins were clearly visible. If my skin was pale, it would have been more pitiful, but unfortunately, due to lack of nutrition, my skin had a dull, sallow color. I weigh just over 80 pounds, I'm dizzy from hunger every day. I really have no other choice. Just think of it as sponsoring a poor student. "Okay," he looked at me doubtfully. "Why don't you apply for financial aid for poor students?" "Because my family isn't poor." "But my family isn't poor." "But my mom won't give me money." Based on what I knew about my mom, I was sure that even if our family was really poor, she wouldn't cooperate with me to get a poverty-stricken certificate. He didn't say anything. He brought up his QR code and held it in front of me. My phone was so slow that the QR code looked like a frozen image on the screen. He was getting impatient by the time I finally managed to scan it and add him as a friend. He immediately put away his phone. $2,000 a month. Send me your report card at the end of the semester. If your grades are okay, I'll sponsor you until you graduate. After that, he looked at his watch. You can go now. It was not yet 10 o'clock. If I took a taxi, I could still make it back to the dormitory in time. After leaving the hotel, I kept checking my balance. My phone battery was failing, and the screen got hot after being on for too long. The heat in my palm was painful, but I couldn't bear to turn off the screen. I stared at the balance, not even daring to blink. $2,000, except when paying for things. I had never held more than $50 in my hand. It was such a large sum of money, enough for me to have many full meals. Maybe I could even spare some to buy a decent piece of clothing. This must be what it feels like for a poor person to suddenly get rich. This day was like a dream. I finally got to eat proper meals. And my weight rebounded rapidly. I gained 3 pounds in just 1 week. But I still didn't dare to skip the check-ins. I was afraid my mom would come to the school and start cursing again. Mr. Kevin occasionally invited me to have meals near the school. It was really just about eating. He barely talked to me. As soon as he finished eating, he left without staying a second longer. It was quite baffling. Once, when he treated me to pizza, we ran into my senior in the restaurant. When my senior saw us together, she thought the relationship she had introduced had worked out and winked at me. In the afternoon, I received a message from her. This guy of yours seems to like you a lot. Get as much as you can, but you're so bold, daring to date openly near the school. You'd better be careful. Gossip can be deadly. I didn't know how to explain, so I just didn't. In fact, I didn't even know Mr. Kevin's full name. He hadn't revealed any personal information. I scrolled through his moments. The background picture was a sunrise over Mount Tai, and his profile picture was a photo of him with the sunrise. He didn't post often. The content was basically about scenery, fishing, reading, his 2 cats and 1 dog, and shared voting links. He liked to use emojis like roses, which was quite fitting for his age, logically. At his age and with his status, he should have a wife and children, but I couldn't find any related posts. I was extremely curious about him. Curiosity is human nature, but every time we met, I maintained my boundaries and didn't ask any extra questions. After all, one should know their place, especially when accepting favors. I once thought our relationship would remain this way until I graduated, until one day, at the dinner table, I received a call from my mom. I didn't have time to lower the volume. Josephine, it's Wednesday today. You don't have any classes after 10 o'clock, right? Based on the distance between the teaching building and the library, you should have arrived at the library by 10:20 at the latest. Why haven't you checked in? Look at the time now. Do you know why I didn't urge you during all this time? I wanted to see when you would realize your mistake and reflect. Have you gone wild? Don't you want your living expenses tomorrow? If you slack off even for a moment in life, you'll lose everything. When will you understand this? I quickly lowered the volume and checked the time. It was almost 2 p.m. I had gone out to have lunch with Mr. Kevin a little after 11 o'clock. Since we were having hot pot, it took a bit longer, and I completely forgot about the check-in, maybe because I had money now and felt more confident. The threat of having my living expenses deducted no longer scared me. I casually agreed and hung up the phone. Actually, I was already used to being scolded. I had become numb and learned to let it go in one ear and out the other. My mom had scolded me several times, saying I was as stubborn as a mule and showed no shame in the face of her lectures. I thought she was right. I was indeed a stubborn one, but even a stubborn person has self-esteem and doesn't want their embarrassment exposed. I wished so much that Mr. Kevin hadn't heard anything. Though I knew it was impossible, however, I believed my expression and tone must have been extremely calm at that moment. After all, when facing an embarrassing situation, one has to pretend it's nothing to ease the awkwardness a little. Otherwise, how could we meet again in the future? He ate as if nothing had happened. Now I know your name. It's Josephine. That's right. He didn't tell me his name, and I didn't tell him mine. That was fair. He probably changed the subject on purpose to ease my embarrassment. That was quite considerate of him. I followed his lead. This isn't fair. I should know your name too. He took out a notebook from his briefcase, wrote something on a piece of paper, and pushed it towards me. Kevin Jefferson. I read aloud. This name was definitely unique among people of his generation. You could tell his family background just from the name. It seemed he had never worried about food and clothing since childhood. How enviable. He asked me in detail about the check-ins, which was the most he had ever talked to me. Since it was already like this, I didn't hold back and showed him the detailed rules directly. He didn't say anything after reading it, but I didn't really expect him to comment, and I especially didn't want to hear words like, "How pitiful." When he was about to leave after the meal, he suddenly said out of the blue, "You're too honest. For the check-ins, you can just prepare the materials in advance." I didn't understand at first. Prepare in advance. Take several photos in the library with different seats, shooting angles, and desk arrangements. As for clothes, you don't need to change much, anyway. It seems you don't have many clothes, so it's reasonable to wear the same thing. At most, you can change your hairstyle or hair tie. But I need to write the passwords on paper. Take several photos holding a blank piece of paper and then Photoshop the text on. Photo editing nowadays can make it look very real. When leaving the library, I need to record a screen showing the world clock. Just take a real photo when it's time to leave the library. It was like a flash of inspiration. Before coming to college, I didn't have a smartphone at all. The one I had now was an old phone my mom kindly gave me, so the concept of photo editing never crossed my mind. After returning to the dormitory, I seriously asked my roommates about photo editing techniques and tried some simple text editing. It turned out it was really doable. I had such a great method right in front of me, but I hadn't discovered it earlier. I really suffered from my lack of experience. After getting a basic grasp of photo editing, I opened the browser and searched for Kevin's name. Someone as rich as him might show up in the search results, right? Sure enough. He had a Google Encyclopedia entry. He wasn't a well-known tycoon nationwide, but he was a prominent entrepreneur in our province, running textile and garment factories. His companies weren't in this city. The first day I met him, he was staying in a hotel, probably on a business trip. The encyclopedia entry showed that his parents were both university professors. No wonder he had such a unique name back then. He was also an outstanding alumnus of our school. Though he graduated more than 10 years ago, he was born in 1984. He wasn't young at all this year. There was not a single word about his love life in the encyclopedia entry, and I couldn't find any information about it on the internet. I mustered up the courage and took the initiative to send him a message for the first time. "So you graduated from our school. You're even a direct senior." Kevin didn't reply. This made me nervous. I was afraid I had said the wrong thing and made him unhappy. And he might stop sponsoring me. I hated myself for being so talkative and not being able to control my overwhelming curiosity. He never replied to that message. 3 days later, he sent me the sponsorship money for the next month. I spent about half an hour each day preparing the check-in photos in advance, then went to class as usual, returned to the dormitory to rest, occasionally bought a small bread to satisfy my cravings, and sent the check-in photos at the scheduled time. I used to be rather withdrawn. I couldn't join in my roommates' conversations. I went to the library rain or shine, and my food, clothing, and daily expenses were even more meager than those of poor students. They all thought I was strange. After my mom made a scene, our relationship got even worse, since I stopped having to worry about the check-ins. I gained weight, got along well with my roommates, and even became more mentally agile. My study efficiency was actually higher than when I used to spend all day in the library. When life gets better, time seems to fly by. Before I knew it, winter came, and even my mom noticed that I had gained weight. One day, after I sent her the photos, she called me and said, "See, I told you that if you strictly followed my plan, you could eat well and be healthy. Your face has gotten rounder. But you'd better control your weight. It's not good for a girl to be too fat. Didn't you always weigh around 90 pounds in high school? Lose some weight. I'll cut your living expenses in half until you get back to 90 pounds. Even though I no longer relied on her living expenses, I was still shocked by this arbitrary decision. "Mom, do you really think $10 a day is enough to live on campus?" She was very sure. "Since your food intake should be halved. Why isn't half the living expenses enough?" I was so angry that I almost laughed. Even if my food intake was really halved, it meant I would eat less. It didn't mean I could spend half as much. Was I supposed to go to the cafeteria window with my meal card and say to the aunt serving food, "Aunt, I want half a steamed bun and half a serving of stir-fried cabbage, and I'll pay half the price"? Is that okay? Who would sell it to me like that? Anyway, the halving of my living expenses was decided. I didn't argue because I knew her well and knew it was useless to struggle. At least now I wouldn't starve just because she controlled my living expenses. I couldn't even imagine how desperate I would be without Mr. Kevin's $2,000. No, if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have gained weight. Most likely, I'd still be living a mindless life, checking in every day. About half a month after my living expenses were halved, I saw my mom downstairs in the dormitory. At that time, I had just come back from the cafeteria with my 3 roommates, laughing and chatting after having rotating hot pot. The moment I saw her, cold sweat broke out on my back. It was like a bucket of cold water had been poured over me from head to toe, and my blood turned cold. I had never slacked off when preparing the check. In photos, I had been very meticulous every day, and my photo editing skills had improved. She hadn't noticed anything before. Why did she suddenly come? Why? My roommates also looked unhappy. After all, they had seen what my mom was like. My mom walked up to me and slapped me across the face. My cheek burned and throbbed with pain. Rose reached out to pull my mom's sleeve. "Aunt, we can find a quiet place to talk. I'll take you to an empty classroom." My mom shook off her hand and pushed Rose, making her stumble. "Who do you think you are? Didn't your parents teach you not to interrupt when adults are talking? You uneducated thing." I kept my head down and quickly pushed my roommates away. "You guys go back first. Don't worry about me. I don't want you to get involved." My mom wouldn't let it go. "Involved? What do you mean involved? Let me tell you, your roommates all deserve to be scolded. I think they're all no good. That's why they've led you astray." Before she could say anything worse, I quickly pushed my roommates through the door of the dormitory building. I didn't try to pull my mom away. If I did, she would have cursed all the way, and the scene would have been even uglier. "It was better this way," my mom said in a cold voice. "I cut your living expenses in half to test you, to see if you were really up to something. In the past, you would have already started complaining that you didn't have enough money. Now you don't ask for money every day, and you've even gotten fatter." I knew there was something wrong. Her focus was on the money, not the check-ins. "I came here 3 days ago. I followed you and watched what you did every day. I finally caught you yesterday. Yesterday, Kevin came to have a meal with me, although we just ate, and he said no more than 5 sentences to me, but that didn't matter. My mom wouldn't listen to any explanation. Since you were a child, I've taught you to be honest and hardworking. Poverty isn't scary. What's scary is having no ambition. But look at you. I worked so hard to send you to college, and you became someone's mistress. Is this how I taught you? I might as well be dead. I'm so heartbroken. You even lied about the check-ins. You've really gone bad. I should have never given birth to you if I knew you'd end up like this." Everyone who passed by heard her words. All kinds of gazes fell on me. I could hear some whispers, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw someone taking out their phone. I couldn't see any signs of heartbreak on my mom's face. All I could see was satisfaction. The dorm supervisor came out to ask her to leave. My mom reluctantly went into the supervisor's office and immediately started complaining, saying how disobedient and bad I was. I saw with my own eyes that she went into a restaurant with a man old enough to be her father. I've never starved her or left her lacking in clothing. How could my carefully raised daughter sink this low? I've worked so hard all my life for her. I interrupted her. "Mom," she glared at me. "You still have the nerve to call me? I don't have a daughter like you. You saw me enter the restaurant with that man yesterday. Why didn't you stop me then? Why didn't you ask that man right away? Why did you wait a day and come to make a scene downstairs in the dormitory?" She was stunned for a moment, then reacted. "How dare you question me when you're the one who made a mistake? Look at you now. You didn't know what kind of person that man was. So you didn't dare to make a scene in front of him. After all, you should know how unlikable you look, right? But this place is different. Downstairs in the girls' dormitory, 9 out of 10 people passing by are female college students who won't meddle in other people's business. My roommates are decent people who care about their reputation and can't do anything to you. You felt so safe here and even got more attention. Now the whole world knows I'm a mistress, and you're a poor, pitiful mother. You're really happy, aren't you? You cut my living expenses in half to test me. This proves that you know $300 isn't enough to live on. It would be strange if I didn't ask for more money. Even $600 isn't enough. But you don't care if I starve to death, do you? Stop saying, it's all for me. In fact, you know very well that you don't love me that much, or rather, you don't love me at all. I said the most rebellious words of my life in the calmest tone. I had never been this bold before, but I felt extremely relieved. Money is so important. When I ate spicy hot pot, drank lemonade, and finally bought new socks instead of patching up the holy ones. I thought money was truly a wonderful thing, but at this moment, I truly realized how crucial money is. $2,000 isn't a huge amount, but as long as I can still afford to eat tomorrow and the day after, I have the courage to break with her, face her viciousness, expose her hypocrisy, and tell her, and myself, the truth that she doesn't love me at all. I was still looking at her, but suddenly, my mind flashed back to the day I first approached Kevin. That day, I was prepared to sacrifice my body. Maybe what I wanted wasn't just enough food. Perhaps I had been longing for the courage that would allow me to do what I did. Her lips trembled, and she slapped me across the face again. I don't think you should go to school anymore. Don't come back to study until you learn how to be a decent person. Take a leave of absence. You're taking a leave of absence right now. My mom went to handle the suspension procedures in a rush. I went back to the dormitory to pack my luggage and apologize to my roommates one by one. Sorry. I got you involved again this time, but she asked me to take a leave of absence, and she probably won't come looking for trouble for a while. I didn't have much stuff, so it didn't take long to pack. Everything fit in one suitcase. As I was about to leave the dormitory, Rose called out to me, "Josephine." I turned around. "Actually, we know that you have a boyfriend outside school." She carefully chose her words. "Wendy saw you with him at the skewer shop." I was stunned. "But we've also seen how you've been living, so it's understandable that you have a boyfriend who supports you. Anyway, you don't come back late, and you keep yourself clean." So we didn't say anything. I thanked her briefly and hurried out the door. The moment I closed the door, tears welled up and fell uncontrollably. My roommates, whom I'd known for less than a year, were willing to protect my pride. My mom, on the other hand, was stepping on my pride to build herself up. My phone rang. And my mom sent me a message. "I've completed the procedures and submitted them. We're just waiting for approval. Your school leader said I could take you home first. I'm on my way downstairs to your dorm. Stand at the door and wait for me." I wiped away my tears, went downstairs, and instead of waiting for her, I pulled my suitcase and rushed out of the school gate without looking back. My phone kept ringing, and she sent me many messages, threatening that if I didn't go home with her today, she would disown me as her daughter. I did something that I had always wanted to do but hadn't. I blocked her. I used to be afraid to ignore her because I was scared she would come to school. Now that she had pulled me out of the school environment with her own hands, I had nothing to fear. So, don't blame me for leaving. I had known Kevin for less than 3 months. With the sponsorship money over these 3 months and the $2,000 travel expenses on the first day, he had given me a total of $8,000. I was quite thrifty with my spending, and I still had $4,000 left. I rented a single room for $600 a month. It had no window, and it was really depressing without any sunlight, but it didn't matter. I went out to work during the day, and I didn't really need the sunlight anyway. I found a job in a restaurant. It was tiring, but I led a fulfilling life every day and didn't have time to think about sad things. I planned to save some more money to pay Kevin back, and then leave this city and consider myself an orphan. After more than a week, Kevin messaged me asking me to have a meal with him. I was really busy during the day and didn't see the message. When I got home from work in the evening and saw the message, I told him the truth. I've taken a leave of absence from school because my mom came to the school and caused a scene. I don't need your sponsorship anymore. I'm working. And I'll pay you back when I save enough money. Thank you so much for this period. What kind of job can you find after taking a leave of absence? A waiter. Do you plan to be a waiter for the rest of your life? Aren't you going to study anymore? I wanted to study, I really did, but to re-enter school, I would need my mom to handle the procedures. If I had to contact her, I'd rather not go to school. I didn't reply, and there was no response from him either. I lay in bed and fell asleep in a daze, but I was suddenly woken up by the vibration. "Meet me at the east gate of the school at 10 a.m. tomorrow. You must come." Although I didn't know what Kevin wanted me for, since he had been kind to me, I took the morning off. He was standing at the gate. When he saw me, he waved at me. I walked over, and he took out 2 pieces of paper from his briefcase and handed them to me. I took a look and was shocked to find that they were the suspension application and declaration form written by my mom. The application had been polished, but the core content was that I had been a mistress for an old man at school, and she wanted to take me home to discipline me. The declaration form had already been submitted for approval layer by layer, and there were signatures from 2 leaders. But I didn't know how it ended up in Kevin's hands. He tilted his head in the direction of the school gate and said, "Go back. You can still make it for the exams." I stopped this. I'll take responsibility if there's any trouble. I had only known that he was rich before, but I never expected him to be able to handle such a thing. Don't look at me like that. Your director Lucas is my college classmate. I explained the whole thing to him. It was just a small favor. I held the two pieces of paper and couldn't believe it for a long time. I had thought that my life, which I thought had reached a dead end, had taken a turn for the better, and it was all thanks to Kevin's help. I realized that there was a huge gap between people. At that moment, Kevin seemed like a superhero to me, although I didn't really know what a superhero was since I hadn't watched many movies. But everyone uses that word to describe someone who can do anything, right? Why are you in a daze? I came to my senses and laughed through my tears. Why are you crying? I wiped my tears with my sleeve and said, why didn't you tell me it was such a good thing earlier? I could have quit my job, returned the rented room, and come back with my luggage. He looked a bit helpless. I've missed a lot of classes. If I fail the final exams, will you still sponsor me? He reached out as if to pat me, but then retracted his hand and patted my arm with his briefcase instead. It's a special situation this year, so it's okay. So I went back to school. My mom probably didn't expect me to come back, and she didn't come to the school to look for me. I didn't have to check in anymore, and I didn't have to answer her calls. After all that happened, I finally lived the life of an ordinary college student. My roommates didn't ask too many questions. They just thought my mom had allowed me to come back. During the time I was away, my mom and I became the subject of gossip. The whole story was exaggerated and spread like wildfire in all the school groups. It was even posted on the campus wall, with both text and videos circulating. I didn't have the courage to open the video, but when I walked on the campus, no one paid attention to me, no one pointed at me or whispered about me. In fact, most people in the real world couldn't match the person in front of them with the protagonist of the video they watched 5 minutes ago. The people who were just watching the drama didn't remember my face, and besides, I was so ordinary looking, and the rumors were like the wind. They would blow away eventually. There was no shortage of new gossip in this world, and soon there would be new rumors. My roommates kindly lent me their notes and marked the key points in the books for me. Fortunately, I didn't miss too many classes, and I passed the exams without failing any courses. I sent my report card to Kevin. It's not bad. It's a bit better than I expected. He transferred $2,000 to me. I clicked to refund it. I don't need the money during the winter vacation. After leaving school, I'll find a job that provides accommodation. I can work part-time for 2 months and support myself. There are many barbecue restaurants on the snack street hiring. I can also work as a courier sorter. I didn't want to admit it, but I knew I was being calculating. I could have just refunded or accepted the money directly. But I deliberately made myself sound pitiful. I was delusional enough to hope that Kevin would say, working that kind of job for 2 months will exhaust you. If you have nowhere to go, you can come to my place. I wanted to see his home. Just take a look. Maybe when I entered his home, I would see his elegant wife and lively daughter. And then I could persuade myself to give up completely and not become the despicable person my mom said I was. But having such thoughts made me feel despicable too. I didn't know when Kevin had changed from a walking ATM to a man with a name and identity in my eyes. I was even surprised at myself. He was so much older than me. Maybe it was the moment he stuffed the suspension application form into my hand, or maybe it was when he taught me how to prepare the check-in materials. Or perhaps it was when I searched for him on Google and found out how rich he was, and I happened to like money. Or it could have been the night I knocked on his door. At that time, I was ready to abandon my conscience and lose my innocence just for some money, but he gave me $2,000 without hesitation and said to me, "You're young, don't go down the wrong path." He even refrained from patting me for comfort and used his briefcase instead. He never smoked or drank. That was really rare. I had never received such respect and care in my life. Never. Sometimes I wondered if my father, if he were still alive, would be like him. I didn't know. I knew it wasn't appropriate for me to feel this way. It was very inappropriate, but even someone with great self-control couldn't control their heart, so I could only try to control my actions. Kevin replied, "You'd better find a job with light physical labor. A job like courier sorting would be too tiring even for a man who exercises regularly. You don't have to find a job with accommodation. You can rent a single room like before. Just accept the money." He transferred the money again. My wish didn't come true, but it was only reasonable. The only way I could learn more about Kevin was through his moments, so I scrolled through it again and again. I looked at every photo, trying to find some clues. I was sure that there was nothing about his wife and children. I wasn't satisfied. I tossed and turned in bed, and finally, I mustered up the courage to contact my senior and asked a ridiculous question. Before someone asked you to set me up, and that's how I met my boss. The person who approached you is my boss's friend. Can you ask him if my boss has a family? My senior replied, I didn't expect you to be so ambitious. Do you want to take his wife's place? I'll ask for you. After a long time, she sent me a message. I heard that your boss was married when he was young, but his wife died. He hasn't remarried yet. Good luck to you. I resisted the urge to contact Kevin and worked hard for a month. When I received my first month's salary, I sent him a message. You've treated me to meals before. Now that I've received my salary, let me treat you. Give me a chance to thank you. He agreed, but on the condition that he would choose the place. He chose an affordable noodle shop. The plastic bowls were covered with plastic bags, and the table was sticky. It was hard for me to imagine that a rich person like him would come to a place like this to eat. I thought he was taking my spending level into account, but I didn't expect that the boss greeted him familiarly, the usual. He smiled and nodded, and chatted with the boss for a while. The boss asked, Is this your daughter? He smiled but didn't deny it. I asked him, Do you come here often? He looked a bit sentimental, but he didn't answer. The boss answered for him. Your father has been a regular customer for more than 20 years. He's been doing business with me since I opened the shop. The boss went into the back kitchen to cook the noodles. I stared at Kevin and asked, After doing business with you for more than 20 years, he doesn't even know what your daughter looks like. He didn't answer. I had a lot more to say, but in the end, I didn't say anything. I was afraid that if I said too much, I might not even be able to maintain the relationship of sponsorship and being sponsored. After we finished eating, I paid the bill. He drove away and told me to go back by myself. Instead of going back to my place, I turned around and went back to the noodle shop. The boss was taken aback when he saw me. Did you leave something behind? I shook my head. Boss, I want to know more about my father. He laughed heartily. That's your father. Don't you know him? Why are you asking me? That's not what I mean, I said seriously and made up an excuse. He likes your shop so much, but he's never brought me here, even if we're close relatives. There are still many things we don't know about each other, so, I want to ask you. The boss thought for a while and lit a cigarette. Back then, your father was a college student. He always came here with a classmate. After graduation, it was just your father coming alone. It was normal for classmates who had a good relationship in school to go their separate ways after graduation. I went back to my place and opened the chat window with Kevin. I really wanted to say something to him, but I didn't have the courage. I buried my feelings deep in my heart and said nothing. I could just accept his sponsorship for the next 4 years and finish college without worrying about food and clothing, but once there were emotional entanglements, I couldn't accept the money with a clear conscience. Or rather, I had become greedy and wanted more than just the money. Now that my mom wouldn't come to the school anymore, I could work part-time and support myself. I'd rather not take his money than torture my conscience for the next 4 years. I knew that if I brought up these things, the result might not be good, but it was better than pretending to be indifferent when I was actually longing for something. I didn't want to stay silent. I went to his city. I didn't know where he lived at all. The only address I knew was the registered address of his company. I squatted at the entrance of his company for 2 days but didn't see him. On the third day, which was Christmas, I still sent him a message. I'm in City A, can I meet you? We can have a talk, and I'll leave after that. I didn't play the pity card because I had tried that before, and I knew it didn't work on him. I chose to be straightforward. You're in City A. Where are you? I took a photo of the entrance of his company and sent it to him. I'm right here. What are you here for? I already said that I want to have a talk with you. He didn't reply for a long time. Near noon, he sent me the address of a restaurant. Fortunately, at least he was willing to see me. I pushed my luck. I want to visit your home. You're crossing the line. There are some things I don't want to say outside. I'll leave after I finish speaking. I really won't bother you. He didn't reply for a long time. I sat on the flower bed at the entrance of his company, holding my phone and waiting for a reply. Luckily, the winter here wasn't as cold as in northeast China. Otherwise, I definitely couldn't hold on, but it was still cold. I heard that white wine can keep the cold away, so I bought a small bottle, both to keep warm and to give myself courage. This was the first time I drank alcohol. It was so spicy and tasted terrible, but it really made me feel warm. I got rid of the cold, but I still didn't have the courage. I took a few more sips, and since it was too spicy to bear, I threw away most of the remaining wine. Just then, his car drove to the entrance of the company. stopped, and he rolled down the car window. Get in the car. After knowing him for so long, this was the first time I got into his car. The car was warm, relieving the cold I had endured from waiting all day. There was no interior decoration in his car. And there were no signs that another woman had been in it. I thought he would take me to his home, but he turned the car into the company's underground parking lot and took me to his office. After entering the door, he pointed to the sofa. Sit down. There's no one else here. You can say whatever you want. He closed the door and stood far away from me. This is the last time we're alone in a confined space, and it's your last chance to speak. I never drove you back to school before. You might have complained that I didn't take care of you. Today, I can clearly tell you that I was trying to avoid suspicion. I hope you can understand. You can think carefully about what you're going to say. Do you still want to say it? I think your better choice is to buy a ticket and go back now. There are some things that you'd better not let happen. I can also pretend that you weren't here today. It seemed that he knew what I wanted to say. As soon as he opened his mouth, he tried to suppress my thoughts. That's right, with his status and age, having seen so much in life, he knew exactly what I was thinking. I had traveled all the way here. There was no way he didn't know what was on my mind. He could have played dumb, enjoyed my admiration, and even the ambiguity, without taking any responsibility. If he had done that, maybe I would have lost my admiration for him instantly. But he was so upright. The more upright he was, the sadder I felt. He walked to the desk, turned a photo frame around, and let me see the photo. The photo was a bit faded. A man was hugging a pregnant woman. I could tell that the man was him when he was young, and the woman must be his late wife. I looked somewhat like that woman, but she was plumper than me. This is me, and this is my wife. He pointed at them one by one. You look a bit like my wife when she was young. My friend saw your photo from someone else. He thought I would definitely like you, so he took you there without asking me. I looked at the photo for a long time, and then I looked at him. Is it because of your wife that you won't let me go to your home? Yes. Were you and your wife happy? Of course. I had a happy family. You're lying. I exposed him. Your wife passed away early, and you never remarried. He frowned. Who told you this? Although you said that there are some things that are better not to happen. But, I paused and looked away from the photo. Since I'm here, I want to express my true feelings honestly. I almost backed down, but the alcohol made me dizzy and gave me the courage. Kevin, this was the first time I called him by his name. Maybe, like you, maybe. There's no such maybe. His tone was more serious than ever. Please raise your head and look at me directly. I looked at him, and he looked at me frankly. I didn't tell you my name at first because I didn't want you to have any illusions about me or any thoughts about me after learning my identity and assets. Do you think I'm the kind of person who likes your money? I interrupted him. It's not like that. It's because you've taken care of me many times. Although it might be just a piece of cake for you. For me, you know, I don't have a father. I'm a posthumous child. You also know how my mom treated me. For me, I didn't mean to cry, but I couldn't hold back my tears. You're the best person to me. I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself down. I'm really, really grateful to you. Before I took a leave of absence from school, the courage to break up with my mom and leave was all because of the money. If it weren't for you, at least during the 4 years of college, I wouldn't have had the courage. I'm not just grateful for the money. You've given me a life with dignity. And you've given me the courage. You've changed my life and allowed me to go back to school. You're really nice. He sighed. Listen to me. You're young. It's just that you've had a tough time and don't have much experience. That's why you're so grateful for a little kindness. You even mistake it for love. Someday you'll understand that all of this is just an illusion you had when you were in a difficult situation. When you get out of this situation, see the broader world, and look back, you'll realize that there's no such big hurdle, and there's no such great kindness either. I'm not as good as you think. When you meet more people and have more emotional experiences, and then look back, you'll also realize how ridiculous it is for you to have feelings for someone more than 20 years older than you. I've tried my best to avoid any cross-border interactions with you. It's because I know that you're poor, alone, and in need of support. At your age, your values are not yet fully formed. I know that getting too close might make you dependent on me, so I won't do that. I agreed to sponsor you at first because I thought you were really pitiful, and I just wanted to send you away. I'll help you with the leave of absence from school. Firstly, this is something that will affect your whole life. Since I promised to sponsor you, I have the responsibility to help you within my ability. Secondly, Director Lucas in your school is my college classmate, and we've always kept in touch. For me, it's really just a piece of cake. giving you $2,000 every month is just the money for a bottle of red wine or a meal for me, maybe even less. I invited you to have a meal when I went to your school. I just took you with me on the way because I thought you were pitiful. I've never done anything special for you, however, for you. Whether it's money or emotions, you're so lacking. When you get a little bit, you think you've got a lot. You've projected excessive expectations and feelings onto me. Today, I could have gone along with the emotions you had because of your confusion, but if I did that, I'm sure you would soon realize that for a young soul, old age is really something unbearable. You would be confused about your decision and even feel disgusted. The most important thing is that you're still a student. You don't have the ability or the choice, so it's understandable that you seek shelter, but someday you'll be independent. I hope that by then, you'll understand that a life with dignity and the courage to leave can only come from yourself. I stood up and was about to leave. Before opening the door, I turned around. You're really bad at refusing people. Didn't I make myself clear enough? No. I shook my head. You've been sincere enough and specific enough. You've probably convinced me. But in fact, the best way to refuse someone is to show your ugliness and badness. You're too decent, and I can't connect the principles you've told me with you. It's not that easy to take back my feelings. Maybe I need some time. Forgetting someone and a relationship is very fast. I'm just a passerby in your life, and you'll forget about me soon. So I looked at the photo and then at him. Is it really that fast? You never remarried. Is it because you can't forget your wife? He lowered his eyes. Can you tell me the truth? Let me know if forgetting someone and a relationship is really as easy as you said. He turned the photo back. To be honest, she was my wife, and she was also my best friend. She got pregnant before marriage, and the father of the child left the country and abandoned her. The public opinion environment back then wasn't as lenient as it is now. To make sure the child was born with a proper status and she wouldn't be gossiped about, we got married. It wasn't because of love. Then later, she died during childbirth. Both she and the child died. Since you didn't have love with her, why didn't you remarry? He didn't answer. Is it because you're in love with someone else? He was silent for a long time. On the day I treated him to noodles, after he left, I went back to the noodle shop. The owner of the noodle shop said, "Your father was a college student at that time. He always came here with a classmate, after graduating. It was just your father coming alone. I originally thought it was normal for them to go their separate ways after graduation, but then I thought that since they were such good friends, that classmate might be his first love. I wanted to know what kind of girl she was, so I asked further, was that girl pretty?" The owner of the noodle shop waved his hand. "What girl?" "It was a boy. Your father had the best relationship with him when he was at school. They were inseparable and went everywhere together. They were really close. Then, what happened later? Why didn't that boy come anymore?" The owner lit another cigarette and looked a bit melancholy. "Later he got some kind of disease. He was so young, but he passed away. It's really a pity. I didn't take it seriously at first, but at this moment, I suddenly realized that everything had its clues. Kevin wasn't from that city, even though he graduated many years ago. He still went to that university from time to time. That's why he invited me to have a meal when he was passing by. Even though he had to cross the city, he still often went to that affordable noodle shop. All these things were in the past, but he still did it. It was just because these places held the only memories he had with someone. That person died young, and a part of Kevin had stayed on the university campus with that person forever. He married his friend who got pregnant before marriage. Besides helping her, maybe he also did it to hide his sexual orientation. After his friend died, he had a legitimate reason not to get close to women anymore. I voiced my speculation. "You don't like women, do you?" He looked a bit shocked, but then he laughed. "Your observation skills are good enough to be a spy, or is it that anyone with a strong purpose can become a spy?" He admitted it. I asked my last question. "On the day we first met, you weren't interested in me. Including what happened later and the words you said to me today. Is all of this because you're a gentleman and care about the age gap, or is it just because my gender isn't the one you like?" He thought for a while. "I won't interfere with your subjective evaluation of me, and I won't explain my behavior. If you think it's the former, then in your heart, I'm an upright person. If you think it's the latter, then maybe I'm a really despicable person. If this can make you quickly get out of this feeling, then I can be a despicable person." I said the last words to him. "Forgetting someone and a relationship isn't that fast, right?" He didn't answer and changed the subject. "It's time for you to leave. Goodbye." I went back to my place. I worked during the entire winter vacation and quickly found a part-time job after the school started. When Rose saw me going for the part-time job, she asked me cautiously, "Did you break up with your boyfriend?" I nodded. Then, "What about your mom?" "Don't worry," I smiled. "She probably thinks I'm still on leave and working temporary jobs everywhere. She won't come looking for me." I returned to a thrifty life, but at least I could control my expenses. I didn't have to eat the food scraps anymore. I didn't delete Kevin's contact information because I planned to pay back the money I owed him when I earned enough. But I knew that, apart from that, I wouldn't have any more contact with him. He still transferred $2,000 every month, but I never accepted it. After a while, he stopped sending the money. Maybe he was right. Forgetting someone and a relationship really is fast. I was too busy with my studies and too tired from my part-time job. I didn't have time to think about him anymore, and gradually, I seemed to forget about him. My 4 years of college passed without much excitement. When I graduated, I suddenly realized that I could hardly remember what he looked like. As for the money I owed him, I had already paid it back a long time ago. I didn't have a magnificent life. I graduated normally, found an ordinary job, rented an ordinary house, made 2 or 3 close friends. I'm not likely to be extremely rich, but I can manage to live comfortably. I also had some plain relationships with different people. Although they all ended in breakups, Kevin became more and more blurred in the succession of my relationships. I couldn't remember how I felt as an anxious young girl back then. Occasionally, when I thought about his age, I truly felt the absurdity of my youth. I have to admit that only after gaining some life experience did I understand that what he said was right, in the blink of an eye. It had been 10 years since I took the leave of absence and cut off contact with my mom. We got back in touch because of the terrifying big data. My social media account was recommended to my cousin by the platform. My cousin confirmed my identity through the selfies on the account and the information about my alma mater. My cousin told her mom, and her mom contacted my mom, so my mom found my social media account. Fortunately, the privacy I revealed wasn't enough for her to come and find me in person. I could have just blocked her, but after thinking it over, I reconnected with her. She said she wasn't doing well and had been thinking about me. Now that she was old, she wasn't agile. She slipped in the bathroom last month, broke her arm, and couldn't take care of herself. Finally, she said she hoped I could go back and visit her. "Okay, I'll go back to see you," I replied, "but you need to check in on time every day." I've organized the specific rules for the check-in into a document. You can take a look. There's still a month until the spring festival. If you can follow the rules and check in continuously for a month, I'll consider going back to see you during the spring festival. She sent a long voice message, but I didn't open it to listen, whether it was her usual controlling lectures or her false show of weakness in her old age. It was meaningless to me and just added to my troubles. The first rule in the document is that I don't accept voice messages, nor do I answer voice calls or video calls. You've already violated the first rule. Today counts as a failed check-in. Surprisingly, she really didn't send any more voice messages. She replied, "After all, we're mother and daughter. How could you be so heartless? Do you really want to humiliate me like this? So you still know we're mother and daughter?" She didn't reply. Later, Rose called me. "There will be a fireworks show by the river tonight. Let's go together to celebrate Christmas." In a trance, I remembered the Christmas 10 years ago. It seemed like it was a long time ago. "Hello, Josephine." "Hello." "Oh, okay." I came back to my senses. "I've also prepared a Christmas gift for you. I'll bring it to you. Merry Christmas." Merry Christmas. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.